welcome to Make Your Passion Pay. I'm Luann Beekler, creator of the Make Your Passion Pay Playbook, your host and guide on this exciting journey to building joyful and successful work environments. Known as the Little Spark, I've helped countless individuals and businesses ignite their potential through transformational coaching, creating thriving businesses and joyful workplaces. I have experienced the challenges of leaving toxic workplaces and building something better. I bring firsthand wisdom to help you align your work with your values. With insights drawn from working alongside world-renowned leaders and a deep passion for community and connection, I'm here to show you how to lead with joy and purpose. Let's dive into today's episode and start making your passion pay. Hey everybody, welcome to Make Your Passion Pay podcast, where we talk about the 6 C's in the playbook to make your passions pay. And those C's, as a reminder, are clarity, connection, community, collaboration, creativity, and commitment. And today, it's very obvious what we're going to be talking about, and that is connection. And I'm really happy to introduce Talia to you today. After over a decade in tech leading teams, Talia decided to pivot and go against the grain with her next move. For the past year, she's been building third space experiences, where she designs and facilitates connection experiences. All experiences are device free. So out of the tech world, no tech. And the purpose is to get to know each other beyond titles, roles, and the small talk that often fuels conversation. The end result is better connected and higher performing teams. Well, I love to talk about teams, Talia, as you know. I did do a little research on your website as well, though, and it goes beyond just teams. I'm interested in hearing about all of it. First, tell us about your transition or your career in tech and why you transitioned out.
Yeah, so I was in tech for many years. As we said, I was mainly in the customer support organization, leading teams of, at one point I had a team of up to 50 people, had some smaller startup experience as well. And I really just started last year. So in March, I was part of a layoff, which, unfortunately is normal at this point in tech. And I was just thinking, what do I want to do now? I'm probably mid-career and started thinking about trying to do something maybe a little bit more purposeful, even though I felt a lot of purpose and connection with what I was doing, just things change over time. So it started with this small idea of a device-free coffee shop, and I realized, all right, we've got coffee shops, love it, but what am I trying to accomplish here? And it was really the idea of creating spaces where we were connecting more naturally, where it was going beyond small talk, where we could have really good conversations, and getting off of the phones certainly helps to support that. So that's been my last year of just kind of figuring out what all of this is and creating different experiences and facilitating them, and just enjoying seeing and watching and helping people connect better.
Awesome. So what is third space experiences?
Yeah, so it's all about creating, designing, and facilitating connection experiences. So if you don't know what third spaces are, there is this concept. So it was Ray Oldenburg came up with the idea. Our first spaces are home. Our second spaces are work, typically. A little confusing now that like the work from home stuff happens, but we still try and carve out space. But third spaces were kind of the other places where we were. So a town square, or, in the UK, pubs where the whole family would gather and just hang out, and, multi-generational, etc. Piazzas in Italy, things like that. And really kind of noticed that those types of spaces have been disappearing. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. And thought, how do we create more of those spaces and places to do that? So that was kind of the background of the name and the idea behind it. Yes.
So I get that now, right?
Hmm.
Like the third spaces that we hang out in.
Hmm.
Uh, what was the book you mentioned?
Yeah, so The Great Good Place, and that's by Ray Oldenburg. And he wrote it, I think it was in 1989. And it's all about kind of the declining third spaces that we have. Um, and it really starts with, when after World War II, people came back from war, started settling, we started to suburbanize. And as we did that, people got further and further away, and they weren't kind of as close anymore. So that's just a little, he talks about it much more, and it's great information, but my little teaser.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. And so tell us what a connection experience is like.
Yeah, so I do connection experiences in the community. So it's ticketed, anyone can show up. And then I also do them for teams, as we talked about, or existing groups of any type. But what I primarily do is there's 3 rounds of small group conversations. And so small group means 3 to 4 people. And during the 3 rounds, you're actually talking with different people. So each round is about 20 minutes, depending on the specific experience. Um, the first round, everyone has their own prompts and cards, and I actually have one here, so I thought I would just share one of the questions.
Yeah.
Um, so one of them is, what's something you collect without meaning to? And then there's some questions I like to call digging deeper questions, and it just helps you, not give one word answers because that's not the point. Um, so when did you notice you were collecting it? Do you actively look for more now? What's your favorite piece? Do others know about your collection? So it's just this random thing that it's like we all probably collect things and maybe don't even realize it until we think about this question. And then it's not talking about our work or any of these things, but I get to know you better based on the answer.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah. So the second and the third rounds are very similar, but there's a group conversation topic. The second round tends to be a little bit more focused around like connection and presence, and sometimes some of the questions brings in the kind of device-free aspect of things or how devices have affected us in our communication. And then the third round is the most self-reflective, but I always tell people it's not like scary. It's not asking for your secrets or anything like that. Um, but the idea is that you're kind of primed by then to be able to talk about things that we might not usually talk about. Um, so people go through, and typically I try and do these for groups of 25. I've also done it at conferences for over 150 women.
Wow.
Um, and it's all about just having all of these good conversations. And so it's really, that's the flow, and typically some extra time afterwards to continue the conversation. And one thing that I feel very lucky to experience is oftentimes it's hard to get people to leave wherever we are because they're continuing on with the conversation. So very rewarding.
Yeah, I love that so much. I was just going to say that. I was recently at an event and I'm like, no one's leaving. Like, no
Right.
one wants to go. We all want to stay together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. We're all
Super cool.
craving it.
So you work with business owners?
Yes. So business owners, human resources organizations, leaders in general that can kind of make these decisions and bring folks in. It works kind of great with individual teams, but also at an organizational level. It's really creating that psychological safety within a team, and that just makes teams work better. Engagement goes up typically by like 17% when you have psychological safety present. So really try and focus on that and help obviously deliver in the organization.
Psychological safety.
Yes.
I love that word. I have an emotional sense of that word. Explain more.
Yes. So I'm not going to give you the definition. I'm sure there's one out there, but more of kind of how I feel about it.
Excellent.
So when you have psychological safety within a team or an organization, you as an individual feel as though you can say what needs to be said without retaliation, retribution, feeling silly, whatever the terminology might be. And so, because you have that safety, you're willing to speak up. And obviously, that creates more voices within the organization, adds that diversity of thought that you have, and you really want that. And so, you can imagine if there's not psychological safety, there might be like red flags going off in your head, but you're like, I'm staying in my lane. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
say that.
So it's hitting home for me because I'm currently working with a small organization company of about 25. And as you know, my work is in the passion test. So I took all these employees in small groups through the passion test process. And when they had to share with each other, I hit this wall. I hit this wall of psychological safety, and they did not feel that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we have recreated core values for the company. Well, not recreated, they never had any.
Right.
So right, that's the foundation of my work, is helping people to create core values, which now your conversations are always around those core values and aligning your actions with your values, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was hoping this will start to open them up. But perhaps there's an exercise that you have that I could go back with around this conversation of psychological safety.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's all about making the space and the time to have a conversation and having a really good prompt that is comfortable for people to talk about.
Mm.
Um, it can be as simple, and this is kind of my go-to question, whether it's in a work environment, networking, just meeting someone randomly. Instead of asking, what do you do? I ask, what have you been curious about recently?
Mm.
And, you know, it kind of just is something that opens up a door and you can get a little bit of a glimpse inside someone. And granted, there has to be that comfort level. And so, what I always tell leaders and other folks when they're kind of thinking of trying to do something like this and using this really simple prompt, you should start first. It has to be authentic and genuine, right? Like
Yes.
you can't go into the situation asking someone something personal, because what you're curious about, it is, but it's not a scary personal. Um, you you can't do that if they recognize that you wouldn't do the same, right? It's a
Right.
two-way street that
Right. No,
happens.
I'm initially questioning the word curious, but then again, the word curious opens up the box a little bigger as to it can be something about the world, right? Outside in your personal life or in the company. And I heard
Absolutely.
had a question that an answer someone might have given me in that particular dynamic would be, I'm curious about how we're going to grow to the levels you're forecasting with this team
Totally.
have, right? And now we allow also a nice dialogue of getting understanding of where the visionaries of the company are going, right? By them need
Yes.
to answer that question. Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. And so I see it as a natural in team building, if you want to call it that. I like the team experience better as terminology to use in the business environment because I think team building has a connotation of role playing.
Totally. Totally. It's funny. I
And no
like
one
using
likes role playing.
right, right. I think team building is great in specific situations, right? If as an organization things are going pretty well and you're trying to celebrate something and you want to do have fun together and there's that foundation. But if you don't have the foundation and you try and do the traditional team building, a lot of people are like, I'm here, but I'm not here.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, I like the term team experience. I also, to try and just, because I'm doing something different, oftentimes I kind of say, well, there's team building and what I do is team relationship building. So playing with that terminology but I like the team
Mhm.
experience too. So I might steal it.
Go ahead, use it, right? There's enough for everybody. So we're
Absolutely.
supporting each other. So have you ever heard of a thing called open space?
Um, it's not coming to mind, so I'm going to say no, and I'm going to ask you to tell me what it is.
That's great. That's fine. It's an exercise or a way of creating discussion that I learned in a transformational conference. And you lay out these rules, and they're very simple rules, and they really open it up for people to be able to make their own decisions of how they're going to play the game, if you will. And then you open up what they call the marketplace for like 20 minutes. And anybody can put a topic in that they want to discuss
Mm,
and brainstorm or share with others, right? And then those topics are placed around the room on the wall, and you get to choose which one you want to go be a part of.
love it.
And then you capture what the group discussion was in bullet points or what have you, and then split up and do it again. So you end up getting to participate in 3 different discussions.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so it is in a corporate team building and mindset that it was built around, right? Let's get everybody's input on it, and
Totally.
really fabulous to get people's input when you're making change in a company.
Yeah, and I actually think one of the most important things about it too is that they're coming up with the topics. Because oftentimes I've seen, the leaders before whatever retreat they're doing, they're like, these are the things we want to talk about, which is great, but the power's in the people in my
That's
mind. And so
love that.
yeah, you're sitting there and it's like I want to talk about this, and then there's other people that want to talk about it as well, and you get to have these great conversations. And oh man, talking about things, and it creates that connection that when we're constantly on our computers, on Slack, on whatever
Right.
it might be, can fall away, unfortunately.
And I very often see it's always communication that's the breakdown in organizations at some level. And I often see that the team has different topics they want to talk about than the leaders ever imagined. And so,
Totally.
so if you let the leaders direct the topics, they're not in the same space.
Right.
Thus,
100%.
open up the space for conversation and connection and creativity. I mean, all these great words from the
Hmm.
60s are a part of that process. So I'm looking for opportunities to do more of that, facilitate
Love
that
it.
work,
Yeah.
right? And an outside third party facilitator is what you want, right? You don't want
Hmm.
any perceived bias in that situation,
Exactly.
because then
Exactly.
it's going to break down the whole situation. So
Yep.
that's why Talia has a business, because she can be that third party facilitator for you.
Exactly.
I just walked right
Exactly.
into that one, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
And I do that too with my groups. And so that's fantastic. So, um, what do you think has changed since COVID around
God.
connection?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I firmly believe that any of our working environments, whether it's, in person, hybrid, or remote, there's ways of creating connection. I think, though, the biggest challenge we've seen is this real push towards productivity. And that is also partnered with like what I consider lower forms of communication, right? So text, there's no social cues when you're slacking, when you're doing this. And when we're so busy, I've kind of found that a lot of the communication we've had has started to become tactical in a way. Like, what's the update on this? Where are we on this? How's this going? And it's important that as a leader, you're having those conversations, that as a team, you're understanding how things are going. But the whole piece about strategically being connected, you've got to make the time for it. It's not just about the deadlines and knowing that people are doing their jobs, right? That's like, you know, great. You want someone who's, if you think about it, like a manager, right? They're kind of managing. You're getting your stuff done, all of these things. What we want is leaders who are creating teams, they're creating connection, they're creating those experiences. And so I think if we can think more strategically and stop with the quick messages, all of that, and say, let's make space for more than that, even if it's just a quick 5-minute conversation. Or, I used to, when I was working fully remote, I would have, I don't know if it was half an hour or an hour every week. It was an optional meeting, and my whole team was invited. And the only rule we had was we couldn't talk about work. That's
Ah,
all. Yeah.
interesting.
And so you can make the space, but I think with COVID, we've gotten so like do, and so many people are working remote that we've just fallen into these habits that have really um, affected connection. And I don't know that it's something that is necessarily obvious to people. I think people feel something's different, but it's hard to put their finger on it.
Well, I think it's interesting because what you first said earlier is the power's in the people.
Mhm.
The power's in the people, and I learned that even when I was studying hospitality in college, right? They would say your employees are your greatest asset. And that is
Absolutely.
absolutely true still today. They are your front line to your customers. You want your people to be happy when they are interacting with your customers because you want them to make your customers happy, right?
Absolutely.
And so leaders need to recognize the importance of the people in the equation. I was just having a conversation with a bunch of tech people about AI's functionality in our
Mm,
business, right? And even the AI people said, or yeah, the tech people said, it has to have a people component. It cannot
mhm,
just be the technology. So for the listeners, please, please, please remember that. And as efficient of a tool AI is and how helpful I love it too, it's not just that. The power is in the people. Boy,
yeah,
I love
I
that so much.
totally. I have a background in hospitality too, and in tech. And when I was in tech, it was customer support. So I feel this very much. And to be honest, kind of that speak around AI and customer support and connection and people was part of the reason why I kind of started moving away from that, because I also see the value in it, right? It's great that it can make you more efficient. No one should be picking up a phone call or writing an email to help someone reset a password, right? Like simple things like that. But when someone is struggling and now they're just arguing with an AI bot, that is not good customer service. And so there has to be people. And, you know, I could go on forever, but quite frankly, customer support brings a lot more value than just answering and talking to customers. The information they get to pass along is super important. So I'm right there with you.
Yes, sorry, we transitioned into a little tech conversation, but
Sorry.
one of the things I'm curious about these days is there seems to be a trend back to I want a human being on the phone. I mean, I don't feel like we were in that realm where we always got an AI bot very long. And
Hmm.
people are already going, wait a minute, I want to talk to a live person. And I
Yeah.
see many companies understanding that and making sure they keep that human connection.
Hmm.
There it is, that human connection, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Customers want it and companies, I hope, want it. I'm glad that you're seeing that. I
Right.
think I'm still trying to figure out if I'm seeing that, but I'm a positive person, so I
Well,
choose
and
yes.
that's the curiosity in it. Where's it gonna land? Or
Yeah.
will it land?
Yeah.
curious about that.
Yeah, I've been
So,
saying it kind of feels like a pendulum and we're kind of on this extreme side. And I'm like, hopefully we're gonna just get somewhere here where there's a nice balance of AI does stuff, humans do things, we work together, but we'll see.
we work together. I
Yeah,
like it so much, right?
yeah.
You talked about productivity, or you mentioned the word productivity. And here's another thing I'm curious about is that I feel like those leaders that have been around longer than others are stuck on that word productivity. And there's a one of my mentors says we're in a trust recession.
Hmm.
There's a lack of trust that people are actually being productive unless I can see you. So
Mm.
when we're in separate homes, separate buildings, whatever, right? Or some in the building and some at home, there's a question, a trust question around productivity. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think that was a big part of what was happening during COVID when it was so quick that people, went home. There was this big question about it. And I remember having team supervisors who reported to me and um, they were much more concerned
Mm.
than me. And I remember just being like, look, we're getting the work done. We don't have to see what they're doing as long as it's getting done. I, you
That
know,
that to me, I agree completely, and that our factor needs to be faced on is the work getting done,
yeah,
not on how many hours or time they put into it, right?
totally,
It's that adage that many of us want to stop trading time for money, right?
totally.
And the
Mm-hmm.
saying in our employees, we should consider that, right? Like it's not about I need to use them up for 8 or 10 hours a day. It's about
Right.
this is what needs to be done today. And if you get it done in 2 hours, great,
Yeah. No,
right? You
absolutely.
find a more efficient way to get it done that gets it done faster than it used to be. You should be rewarded and recognized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that what tends to happen is people are so stretched thin that they're like, if this person can do their work faster, we can get more work done. And that might be true, but it might not. And also, what are the consequences of doing that?
What is the
And
cost?
exactly.
Cost,
And it's high.
overwhelm, and burnout.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
why would we want to burn out our
Mhm.
best people?
Yeah. Yeah. And, something else that I think about that I've kind of witnessed also is um, some people have a different expectation of how they should be working and how the people working for them or under them should be.
Ah,
And
gosh, yeah.
there's an understanding of more flexibility because, they're a leader or manager or whatever their title is. But they have a hard time understanding that, you know, everyone deserves the same kind of flexibility. And I remember years ago when I was still in corporate doing a training on leadership, and the only thing I remember from this, I'll be honest, was that when they asked employees the number one most important thing that mattered to them from their leadership, it was flexibility.
Mhm.
And you just think about that, and it's like the one thing people want is some flexibility.
Yeah, I just want to encourage our listeners, our business owners out there to really rethink how you view productivity and who you're rewarding, right? Because if you um, allow people to say that you want this done in 8 hours and it's not going to take me that long, the next thing they're going to do is drag it out,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
encourage them to get it done in the most efficient way they can and recognize those who are getting things done faster, not
Totally.
by giving them more work,
Right. Right. Absolutely.
which is our historic tendency.
Yeah.
But I mean, a
Productivity.
positive recognition. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So again, be curious about how you're looking at productivity, and you might want
Mhm.
to rethink that.
Mhm.
I want to go another direction here
Yeah.
because I am working on a project in my community. We live
Mhm.
in the 507 area code,
Mhm.
and we call it the 507 experience.
Okay.
But in essence, what we're trying to create is connection in community
Love it.
and get people to talk about other things than politics and the weather and, you know, let's talk about
I
things that are
know.
meaningful to us. You know, this is the work you're doing. So tell me about your community connections that you do.
Yeah, so the community events that I do, there's two different types that I'm doing right now. One is actually not as facilitated. It's called a social experiment, and we turn a space device free for 3 hours. And I'm basically holding the space. And what that means is I'm welcoming the people who come in. People come alone for conversation and connection, right? That's the beauty of it, is everyone's showing it because they know they want to have good conversations with new and different people. And so during that experience, it's not like you talk to these people, you talk to these. It's like come and go. You can come for 5 minutes, you can stay for 3 hours. Here are some prompts to get you started. And I've had some of the most lovely conversations. There was one woman who has come to a few of them, love getting repeat customers. And she was born deaf. She now has a cochlear implant and some hearing aids. And we had this fascinating conversation about the first time she heard music.
Wow.
And you just stop and think about that for a moment. And it's like, wow. And this is someone I probably never would have crossed paths with. I don't mean that in a bad way, just
Right.
it's a big world we live in.
Right.
And you can have these lovely conversations about things. The prompts are really important just to create that first level of safety. But what's great is I do find that people just talk and they go on tangents, and it's not about the politics, what is different about us. It's about all the things we have in common and that we're curious about. So that's one of the experiences. And then, as I said, I do kind of the fuller 90-minute facilitation, but in a ticketed format. So again, it's for people that are looking to meet people and have good conversations with them. That one is very formatted so that we have the different prompts that are happening. What I actually do at the beginning is when they're checking in, we're getting their devices put in little pouches, so they're device free, and they actually get a welcome card, I call them. And so as they're moving in and starting to socialize before the experience actually starts, they have something to talk about that isn't about their job, their roles, or the weather. And my favorite one, because this was one of the first ones I thought of, and it has gotten very interesting reactions, um, is okay, if you are putting your shoes and your socks on at the same time, right? Are you doing sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, sock, shoe? I am not in the majority of what people do, and I have multiple times been told that I'm maybe a little psychotic for doing sock shoe, sock shoe. And I'm like, this is hilarious because then people are like, wait, what is going on? And so they're having these little conversations, and it's really setting the stage in this beautiful way that's not, I'm walking into this space with strangers. I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. I'll talk about my job because what else am I going to talk about? Because that's our social etiquette we
It
have. So, how
is.
do we change that? And it's really lovely and exciting to see.
It's so funny. I have another one for you. A friend of
Mhm.
mine used to use this as an icebreaker all the time. And it is, how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Do you
Mhm.
put the peanut butter on one side and the jelly on the other side and put the sandwich together? Or do you put the peanut butter and jelly on one half and then just put the other piece of bread
I have
on?
strong opinions.
Or what else?
Yeah, totally.
Shoot, that's a good one too. I really love that. And so people that are listening again, this is not rocket science. No. You can come up with things that are common like that, putting your shoes and socks on or making a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and use them as conversation starters in your teams, in your social experiments, or experiences, right? Call them what you'd like. But that's fantastic. And I'm going to take this all back to my 507 experience committee and share that with them. And we may be giving you a call in the future for a little
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love that. The more connection, the better. Like, honestly, right? I'm like, however I could spread this and get us off of our phones and talking to humans again.
In a meaningful conversation, not surface level. Call that something else, but
small talk, surface level.
Small talk. That's it. That's it, right? Which is a tendency we have to go to all the time. I have a little buzzer going off over here. Oh. I don't know if you can hear that.
Nope. I mean, I might have heard a little bit, but not very loud. So,
any last words? A nugget for our audience?
Oh gosh.
For today?
On the spot. No, I would just say, creating connection is really part of being a leader within a team, within a community, within, a resident, all of these places, any groups you have. I think that really showing leadership is partly harnessing that connection. And just remember that it's not fluff. It's actually a very important foundational piece of everything we do. So
that is excellent. Perfect tidbit. The human connection is powerful and we need it. We desire it. It's never going away. So let's get good at it.
Yes.
I like it. Thanks again for visiting us today, Talia. That was fantastic. And everybody out there, please go out and make your passion pay and have meaningful connections with the people you work with and associate with in your life. Thanks for listening. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Make Your Passion Pay. If today's episode inspired you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a rating, and share your thoughts in a review. Every listener makes a difference in spreading this mission of joy and purpose. Want to take the next step? Share this episode with your friends, colleagues, or anyone looking to build a thriving, values-driven workplace. Together, we can create communities where passion fuels success. Until next time, remember, when you lead with joy, you inspire greatness. Let's keep making your passion pay.